again, everyone. Welcome to Cotton Grower Magazine's Cotton Companion podcast. This is Jim Stedman, editor of Cotton Grower. I'm joined again today by my colleague and good friend, Beck Barnes. Now, Beck, much to my chagrin, and I think to most people in the Mid-South, including you, I've had to pull the sweatshirts and long sleeves back out after the last couple weeks, now that winter has slipped in for what we hope is one last gasp. And I know we talk about our chart of southern seasons. I think we have now cleared the spring of deception and are now into third winter at this point.
Third winter. I don't know if it's final winter. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of throw the chart out the window because we were freezing pre-dawn this morning.
Right.
I could not, I chose not to get out on my bike before sunrise like I'd like to do because, it was in the 20s, but it's going to be 60 here mid-afternoon. So we're going through four of those, maybe third spring of deception into fourth mini winter, all over in the course of a day.
Yeah.
So the charts out the window, everything's haywire right now. We got 30-degree swings over the course of a day.
Yeah, I was noticing how close we were actually getting to the pollinating, to the pollinating.
Yeah, my wife's vehicle, which is normally champagne colored, is basically almost fully yellow at this point.
Yeah,
So
I
here in
think
East Memphis.
I think we have postponed the worst of that for a week or so.
Yeah. It'll
The
be
official beginning of that part of the season. But
yeah.
anyway, well, based on some folks I talked with at the Mid-South Farm and Gin Show a few weeks, that spring of deception was weighing heavy on their minds as planting time approaches. I've seen some burn down underway here in North Mississippi. I was traveling up I-55 through Arkansas and the Missouri Boot Hill last week. And
Probably
saw
last year too.
Yeah, last year too. But this time I was seeing a lot of burn down already underway. So, but I'm guessing at this point, better judgment has prevailed, at least for the time being, in terms of trying to roll planters out there. But anyway, we've got a lot to cover in this podcast, especially with pre-plant field work beginning to pick up. In just a few minutes, we're going to talk with our friend Stanley Culpepper, who is University of Georgia Extension weed specialist, about those last-minute items growers need to keep in mind for early season weed management, plus updates on the recent dicamba ruling, EPA messages, and really what that means moving forward for herbicide labeling. And we know you're going to want to stay tuned for that discussion.
Yeah, no doubt. It's always big fun when we get to catch up with Dr. Stanley Culpepper. So, the first thing we want to do, though, Jim, is welcome our sponsors to this episode of the Cotton Companion. And for starters, first up, we want to welcome our partner, the American Cotton Shippers Association. They have a brief message they'd like to share.
The American Cotton Shippers Association, also known as ACSA, is a trade association primarily made up of cotton merchants founded in 1924. ACSA members manage the majority of the world's cotton trade, providing services of merchandising, delivery logistics, and risk management to their customers. ACSA is proud to be celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. Join them in Scottsdale, Arizona in June 2024 for their centennial celebration event.
All right, as always, a big thanks to our friends and colleagues there at ACSA for that message and for their support. And now, as a kind of a wrap up on Cotton Achievement Awards season, gosh, it feels like it's, and appropriately so, Jim, it feels like it's a 4-month, 5-month program between when we announce the winner, or we solicit nominees, and then we announce the winner in January, and we present them the award at our big, nice luncheon at Gin Show, and then we have all the good content, good media term, good content that comes out of that
That's
luncheon.
right.
And one of those things, kind of to put a bow on everything, we'd like to hear from the people who make that program possible. And those are our sponsors at Americot. So we had Cotton Grower she's senior editor now, isn't she? Diane Munson. She visited with Chase Samples of Americot for a custom interview to discuss their sponsorship of the award and also to take a quick look at some of those new next-gen varieties that are going to be available this year.
Hello, Chase. Thanks for joining us on the Cotton Companion today. Can we start off by having you tell our audience who you are and what you do for Americot and their next gen seed brand?
Thanks for the introduction. I'm Chase Samples. Grew up on a farm in North Mississippi. Got my undergrad at UT Martin, master's at Mississippi State, PhD at Mississippi State. Currently, I reside in North Mississippi. I am the market development specialist for the entire Delta plus Alabama for Next Gen Americot. With this title comes many hats, but I primarily focus on the agronomic management and placement of current and future varieties from Next Gen across the Mid-South as well as part of the Southeast.
Well, that's great, Chase. What a background. As you know, we at Cotton Grower recently collaborated with Americot at the Mid-South Farm and Gin Show in Memphis for the presentation of our Cotton Achievement Award to last year's winner, Bart Davis Jr., thanks to Americot's generous sponsorship. Can you talk about what it means for Americot to be able to support and shine a spotlight on the fine people like Bart who lead this industry forward?
To myself and this company, it means a lot, Miss Diane. You know, our owner, Mr. David Hicks, is a cotton farmer in Gaines County, Texas. I grew up on a cotton farm in North Mississippi that is still fully operational. I also have other family members that farm, and we all plan on continuing to farm. It's a way of life. People like Mr. Bart are the lifeblood of the cotton industry. He has always answered the call not only for his community, but for cotton growers in Georgia, as well as cotton growers across the belt. He has served on countless boards and committees, all while operating a farm and has done both with the utmost integrity. He has also been progressive in bringing new ideas to his farm and to other growers, which is a good example to set, in my opinion, particularly for the younger generation. His commitment to his community, agriculture, and the environment haven't gone unnoticed. He helped open a new community bank. He owned a peanut buying point. He was named Quail Forever Precision Ag Farmer of the Year 2021. Agribusiness Man of the Year 2022, and Georgia Farmer of the Year 2023. It's an honor for this company to help shine a spotlight on guys like Mr. Bart Davis, who are not only saying but doing in agriculture.
Thanks, Chase. Our winner has cooperated on countless on-farm demos and field trials. Data generated from these trials have impacted fellow growers both locally and regionally. While Americot is a national brand, you too keep a local, regional focus on the various regions of the Cotton Belt. Next-gen seeds are bred to fit every region of the U.S. Cotton Belt and all seem to be making big waves in every corner of the Cotton Belt. Can you tell us more about these?
Yes, ma'am, I can. 3327 is an early maturing variety. It's been very well adapted to the upper Mid-South as well as the lower Mid-South and parts of Alabama. Excellent vigor. I would say it probably has the best vigor of any cotton variety on the market today. Can fit a wide variety of environments, thin rolling ground in West Tennessee to, Sharkey clay in Escalina County. It has been a very good performer for us. Look to see acres of it grow this year. 4335 is a brand new set of genetics for Next Gen. Excellent fiber quality. Moved across the cotton belt very, very easily without little hesitation. Has really good storm tolerance. Had a lot of guys in the southern, South Alabama, South Delta, and parts of South Georgia that are looking at it as a double crop cotton this year with cotton prices being up. Still cleans up very clean to have good storm tolerance. 4343 kind of set the bar from a thrive on standpoint for a lot of growers this year. Super high yielding cotton, particularly when it's put in that upper echelon environment. Easy to manage, very, very well received across the cotton belt. Look to see that one on a lot more acres this year as well.
And what can you tell us about the latest class of 2024 Next Gen variety releases?
Well, 3434 is going to be a West Texas play. Really good fiber quality. Excellent turnout out of the gen. Has really good vigor. Looks to be a really good cotton variety from Lubbock North. 3457 is a Delta play, 100%. We'll get some traction in the Mid-Atlantic and also the Southeast. From a B3XF, it has set the bar within Next Gen from a yield standpoint. Comparing to 3195, which is our best-selling variety in the Delta, on average about 100 pounds better. 4409 will be a West Texas play, but it's an interesting plant because it moves very well across the belt. It's very consistent, and it's gonna staple. It has a very good staple. It holds its fiber parameters very good across the belt. Look to see that one on a good many acres in West Texas and probably start moving its way east. 4414 is a Mid-Atlantic cotton. it can hang with anything over there. It doesn't matter if it's in the Blacklands or the Piedmont or below the lakes or above the lakes. It is very, very consistent. It is a very sturdy plant type, can go across a lot of acres. Gonna have to manage it a little bit though, but it looks very, very good in the Mid-Atlantic. At 5430, it's been good all the way from Lubbock County to the Atlantic Ocean. Anywhere you can grow a full 5430 looks very, very good. Internal testing within next gen 5430 walked away from everything else in Georgia as well as South Alabama. Additionally, to be a full season, it's a very big seed. This year our average seed size with 5430 is around 4,600. And with our latest Thrive On release, 4405, we try not to release varieties unless they're bringing something to the table that we don't already have. So with 4405, we saw an increase in yield over 4343 in internal testing, as well as it brings bacterial blight resistance to the Mid-South, which is becoming more and more important to growers every day.
We appreciate you joining us on the Cotton Companion today, and we look forward to a continued partnership with your team at Americot. We wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me, Miss Diane. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
All right, a big thanks to Diane and Chase and our friends at Americot for that message and for their continuing support.
And now let's talk weeds for a few minutes. And to bring the expert perspective to the discussion, Stanley Culpepper, he's University of Georgia Extension Weed Specialist. Stanley, it's been a while since you've joined us on the podcast, so welcome back to the Cotton Companion.
Oh, certainly a privilege to be here with you guys, and thank you so much for sharing good, sound information with all of our growers.
Well, we do our best. We do our best. For starters, I know it's still early season. What's the status of pre-plant field work right now in Georgia? I know with the last few weeks of early warm weather, did growers move straight from your winter meetings to the fields, or are they still on hold right now?
Now, I think our guys are really warming up right now. It's a cool spell, but over the last week or so, we've certainly been putting some the burn downs out, and we certainly have a lot of our growers that are preparing and ready to go. Down here we're quite dynamic, so we got a lot of vegetables going into the field. We got corn going into the field, but we're certainly getting ready to prepare for cotton time coming up in the not too far from now, right?
Yeah, just a few weeks away, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we know about those guys getting that itchy trigger finger when it first gets to warm up. On that note, as we're looking towards 2024 and the season, Stanley, I know that you saw, as we did about a month and a half ago, when the U.S. District Court of Arizona ruling came down, and that vacated the 2020 registrations for dicamba products used for over-the-top applications on dicamba-tolerant cotton and soybeans. So it's, as you know, an elephant in the room as planting approaches this year. And I know that you've had a lot of questions in a very short period of time about that. And we still may be getting questions even after the EPA has issued this existing stocks order, easy for me to say. Where does that all of that stand right now for your guys in Georgia? Are they prepared? Have they made adjustments?
So that's really a dynamic question, and what a challenging time in agriculture, all of agriculture, but especially for us in pest management with the endangered species challenges, now with the dicamba challenges. What we're currently doing is we're doing what we call in Georgia our using pesticides wisely training. That's kind of our dicamba training, but it's really focused on pesticide stewardship and all the pesticides. So we're trying to make sure all of our growers understand the background from the decision from the Arizona judge all the way to the US EPA allowing us to use stocks and purchase stocks. But we're also, just trying to prepare them for, in our part of the world, we simply do not have enough in-crop dicamba, right? We just do not have enough XtendiMax, Ingenia, or Tavium. Some of our places have very little. Our best situation might be a grower that's got 60 to 70% of what they need. So we're really in a difficult situation. So first, hopefully there will be more product that finds its way down to our cotton producers. You probably know, and most of our viewers know, Georgia is a heavy dicamba systems approach. We run a really, really good system. Most of my growers are really, really making wise decisions. we've actually reduced pesticide drift 90% since 2014, and that's through the adoption of the auxin technologies, right? That's really, really cool. It's really, really exciting, but we're trying to figure out what we're going to do because nobody's going to have everything that they need. Some growers are going to be short a lot. So we're running through those programs, right? We've got good alternative systems. We got to be more timely. The dicamba system clearly from our science allows us a little more flexibility. We got to be more timely, but if we are more timely and we get that residual component of the program, remember I always say the key to sustainability, I don't care if you're a cotton farmer or squash grower, is understanding residuals and overlapping those residuals. So all of that stuff that we were doing in 2015, 2016, 2017 is right back in front of us. We can do it. We got to be prepared. We got to be timely. And obviously, we need Mother Nature to cooperate maybe a little more this year with the limitations on that technology. So, again, it's do you run 2 dicamba applications on half your acres? If you have 50% of what you need, do you run 1 application on all of your acres? They're the kinds of things we're working with our growers to fine tooth what they've got this year. But man, we're really hoping that there's some dicamba maybe in bean country that's not going to be used and it can find its way down to cotton country.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. As you're sitting there talking, Stanley, I'm just thinking back to 15, 18 years ago, where your guys down there specifically were on the front lines of this glyphosate tolerant just pandemic that we had break out across the belt. And your guys were some of the first ones that dealt with it and the first ones to try to figure that riddle out. And I wondered, we know how it is in cotton farming. It's the same cast of characters from 15, 20 years ago. There's not that much turnover. Do you think your guys are kind of uniquely, I don't want to say just going to make this a slam dunk, this dicamba problem, but just kind of flexible, using their memory from 15, 18 years ago and when you have a tool taken from you, are you able to adjust?
Yeah, so you may not believe this, and I'm sharing this year in our winter meetings. It was actually 20 years ago right now when we confirmed the first glyphosate resistant pigweed on planet Earth, right? And it absolutely did devastate us all the way through really 2012. So it's interesting that you say that because I bring that up every year, and I may be talking about dicamba, I may be talking about glufosinate, just to remind everybody about resistance and the importance of that sustainable program, right? So I always do that, but I was really hoping we wouldn't lose tools through the regulatory process, which is obviously a great challenge for us, especially when you consider ESA. I think my growers are ready, right? The problem is we've had to get larger than we maybe needed to be super timely, right? So, but they're going to have to figure out how to do it because pigweed doesn't care, right? Pigweed does not care. Spiderwort doesn't care. Morning glories don't care. You better be timely, and if you're not timely, you're going to be in trouble. So I have confidence in my growers. We got some great growers. The crops we grow, peanut, a lot of peanut production. A lot of my cotton guys have vegetables, right? So we understand the importance of timeliness, and we're really going to have to take the opportunity this year to really be on that. We cannot be behind in those systems.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like I say, your group down there is kind of unique in their experiences over the past couple of decades. So just to steer us back to this dicamba ruling, are there any indications that you've heard of that EPA may appeal the court ruling in the long term?
So I have no thoughts at all that will happen. I think our best chance, and again, I'm guessing every one of your viewers can come up with the same guess, right? It's just as factual as mine because this is a total guess. But I really think we got to hunker down. All of us in the ag stakeholders have to hunker down and start trying to prepare for re-registering, which truly it'll be a registration process, but getting those products registered once again, going through the process to get the tool back in the future. It'd be crazy for me to say when it's going to happen, but I think that's the important process. We have the science, believe it or not. I've been doing this for 7, 8 years. None of your listeners should be surprised by this, right? Every meeting I've done for the last year, I said, there's a judge in Arizona that's going to pull these products. You need to be prepared, right? So there's nobody that shouldn't be prepared if this was to happen. The challenge is, what do we do this year? How do we behave, right? How we behave And using this technology in 2024 is going to directly influence our ability to try to get it in the future, right? If we can't keep it on target in 2024, how are we going to ask the EPA to work with us to get the product back in the future? Just think about that, and think about if you work with the EPA, what you would do, right? So a lot relies heavily on our applicators doing the right things, making the right decision, understanding how vulnerable we are and how important this is for all pesticides, not just dicamba, all pesticides. But if they'll do their part and they'll put this on target, the agricultural stakeholders, we are working very, very aggressively. We've got good science to support the value of this technology, the returns on investment, flexibility, economic return, sustainability and conservation tillage, right? We talk about climate smart technology. So there's a lot of benefits to having more tools in that toolbox. And dicamba is one of those tools that we need. So, I want to be optimistic because I'm an optimistic guy. But it's going to be a heavy lift. But I think it's a heavy lift that we can work together. And I'm just hoping that our colleagues at the US EPA are willing to give us a seat at the table to have the discussion to begin the process of getting it back in the future.
Yeah, that's, I've heard that mentioned several times at meetings over the winter. Uh, Looking at this ruling, when it came down, I think there was just that initial shock that, oh my God, it actually happened,
Mhm.
even though everybody was kind of sitting back waiting for it. Uh, and I had to ask the question, it's like, is this kind of a byproduct of what I consider impossible challenges that EPA has? They've been dealing for the last several years, struggling between lawsuits and new labeling guidelines. That's confusing enough as it is. And I know there are several new products that are sitting right at the end of that pipeline, waiting for that final registration. Uh, what's this going to mean moving forward at this point? Are we going to get clearances on some new stuff, or are we now delayed for a period of time?
Well, again, this is just my guesstimate. I don't know anything, but yeah, I think the 800-pound gorilla in the room is herbicide strategy, right? You remember that got delayed from May. Now August the 31st, herbicide strategy, that format will become final. And once we understand that, I think that will help us understand what it's going to take to move a lot of these tools that you're talking about that we've been waiting on and waiting on and waiting on. But that'll also influence dicamba, right?
Yes, it
Can we get
will.
it back? Because again, you got to throw that now back in the loop. We got to register this product, right? We truly have to do a registration of this product. So it's quite a few of our tools are super vulnerable. And I'll mention this, and I cherish my relationship with the EPA. And I had a conversation the other day that really hit me well when I'm screaming to try to get the tools back for our growers, right? That's what I do every day is scream and screaming. We've got to have these tools. And I was asked, would you prefer we take the people off of atrazine to work on dicamba? Would you prefer we take them off of glyphosate to work on dicamba? Would you prefer we take them off the neonics or the OP? Well, there's not enough people,
Yeah.
right? There's not enough people that we don't have running regulators around. So we're going to hurt ourselves by trying to bring this tool back by hurting some other product, right? So it's a really, really complicated process. We know the importance of it. We're going to do everything we can. And again, we're just hoping that the EPA will give us a seat at the table to help them understand how important this is and we can figure it out. But it's not an easy process and everybody's critical. But, if we were at the EPA trying to figure this out, we'd be in the same situation.
Yeah. It's understandable. It's frustrating, but it's understandable.
It is. We wish we had 250 more people sitting at the EPA today. That sounds crazy, right? A lot of people are like, oh, that's the wrong approach. We need people at the agency to address the science. And when you throw the endangered species in there,
Yeah.
the level of science, the commitment that we have to make is just, it's gone to another realm, right? So I'm in a position, again, I'm an optimist. I feel great about the relationship that we built with the agencies, the field tours, the great Don Parker. He did this forever. We tried to continue this on, but the relationships we built, I'll just challenge you back. Why did the EPA sign the stock order they did, right? It couldn't have been any better for us. Why'd they do that? I'm hopeful it's the relationship that we're building
Mhm.
between our farmers, our agricultural community, and our regulators. The more we know about one another, the more we respect each other, the more we'll work together to to not only protect our agriculturalists, our farmers, but we can also protect the wildlife, which we are the ones that love the wildlife, right? So we can do it all. We just need more people and more time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of growers, I've got one last question for you. Um, our 2023 Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award recipient this year was Bart Davis down in Delran, Georgia. He's one of your growers. Um, you know him well. You work closely with him on field research and farm visits and other projects. How important are growers like Bart to your programs?
So, I think the best way for me to answer this, because I truly have a tremendous amount of respect for Bart, and we have so many growers just like Bart, but he's the reason I'm still here. I'm from a bicentennial family farm, and the reason I get up every day as a weed scientist at the University of Georgia is to have the opportunity to help people like Bart,
Mhm.
right? If you look at the professions across the world, what is more important than the people that provide the food, feed, and fiber, right? And to have an opportunity, a small opportunity to help those guys and gals uh, fulfill their goals of taking care of us and providing that food, feed, and fiber is just truly an honor. And people like Bart just are so special. And every time I ask for help or guidance or input, they're always available. And I have so many growers like that. I'm so lucky in the state of Georgia, and really, obviously, across the Southeast and the Mid South, we have growers everywhere like that. So it's truly an honor just to get up each day to get to help those guys, hopefully a little bit.
Yeah, those are the ones that when you see their phone number pop up on your phone, there's a good question coming.
Well, and when you're working with folks like Bart, I mean, we're trying to change the world. Those guys want to change the world for the better, not only just for agriculture, but we want to change the world for the better. So again, just to have
Mm,
the opportunity to learn from those guys and how they operate is absolutely wonderful. And again, just glad to be part of the team.
sounds good. Well, with that, Stanley, we're going to call it a wrap on this discussion. We certainly thank you for taking time out of your very, very, very busy schedule to join us on this. We know there's a lot to do right now. We all have a lot of things on our plates at this point, uh, and I have a funny feeling you're going to be right in the middle of most of it. Uh, but anyway, thanks again. We're going to try to catch up with you sometime in person later this year.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. And again, thank you guys because sharing and communicating the information we develop from the science world, you guys are critical to that, right? And if we don't have that avenue to share that information, we can't communicate with all the clientele across the agriculture. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Stanley.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. We want to say thanks again to Stanley Culpepper for joining in on today's discussion. We want to say thanks also to the American Cotton Shippers Association and to Americot for their participation and sponsorship with the Cotton Companion. And as always, we want to say thank you, dear listener, for joining us. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. And if you did like what you've heard, please be sure to spread the word and tell your farming friends and neighbors about the Cotton Companion podcast. Here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
Cotton Companion podcast is produced twice monthly by Tyler Hatch and Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues at the world headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. I'm Jim Stedman. He's Beck Barnes, and we'll be back with you in a few weeks, the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, get ready and stay safe.
Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made a farmer.